Hello, and I want to talk about some car racing board games today. So what sparked this off really for me was a project which is on Gamefound at the moment, Formula GP, by Ducks Games. Now, it was on Facebook, it was on some social media in terms of advertising and so forth, and the premise just sounded amazing. It was a big F1 fan anyway, and like car racing, and this game seemed to encompass a lot of what F1 racing was. Now, obviously I've got two games in front of me right now, and I'll be talking about those very, very shortly. But I just wanted to stress about the fact that it was this Formula GP which sparked my interest into driving board games, okay, or car racing board games. I'll talk a bit more about Formula GP at the end of the video, because what this video is mostly about is comparing Heat, Pedal to the Metal, to Rallyman GT. Now, one thing to really mention here is I've only had these games for about a week, so I am quite new to the games. However, I've played them quite a lot in that small time frame. Heat, Pedal to the Metal, I've been playing solo, but I've also played that multiplayer as well. 5 players, we had that, 5 cars racing. And Rallyman GT, I've only played solo, using a fan-made AI. And I'll be talking about the comparison between the two, what you get in the box, and what I've seen as what is available for each game. So, the Heat has been on the top of my radar for a little while. It's a game which I thought I would like, and it hasn't disappointed so far. It's a very nice, streamlined car racing game. It's push your luck mechanics, and this is for both games. They are in common, they have push your luck mechanics. With Heat, you're using cards to basically move speeds, and your gear will determine how many cards you can play from 1st to 4th gear. It's not as simple as just playing cards with numbers though. You've got things like stress cards, which are unknown. You've got Heat, which is a really important resource in this game. Allows you to take corners faster. It allows you to boost your car, so when you're going on the long straights, you can go faster as well and go further distances. But ultimately, if you run out of Heat, number one, it's going to clog up your hand. So it's kind of like a deck playing card game mechanic. But if you get rid of your Heat, then you're susceptible to spinning out, which can be really, really bad for you. And I think that's the thing which is in common with all of these racing car games, is you push it, you risk it to try and get ahead, and sometimes that fails. And depending on when that happens will depend on how much it affects you. With Heat, as I said, very slimline, straightforward mechanics. I played this a couple of days ago, as I said, 5-player, explained the rules, and we were up and running playing, and the whole game, explaining the rules and playing the whole game, took around about 1 hour 45 minutes. Okay, so a decent time. It's not too long, it's not too short. That was 3 laps of a standard race around a track. And that's the multiplayer version of that. Now, I've played this solo, as I mentioned. I've played through, you get a few championship races. So you get these 1961, 1962 and 1963 championship races, which have got 3 races, and then 4 races, respectively. They play on the different mats, and the tracks in this game that you get in the core box are 4 different track locations. Double-sided cardboard race tracks, which have the track already printed out on it. So really quick setup time, and which I want to come to my first point about the differences between these two games. Certainly with the retail. So these are both the retail versions of both games, okay? With Heat, Pedal to the Metal, you get a lovely insert. This makes setting up and tearing down really quick. One of the things I really love about this is not only the mechanics and the kind of tension that you feel as playing it, and the simplistic rule set, I'm going to call it, for bringing in new players. So new players can come in straight away, they can dive in, you can play out. You've got things like weather, which is fantastic. Random weather, you can choose the weather, I suppose. And then you've got variable corners and stretches which can happen, which can, you know, increase the speed of those corners, decrease the speed of the corners, allow you to overtake and draft quicker and faster and so forth. But this simplicity comes with a bit of a detriment in a way, because it's less of a sim, which I will come to when I come to Rallyman GT and the differences between the two. So if you've got two cars which are here, okay, and you think, right, I get maybe 8 movement in my cards. I go to 3 here and then I'm blocked. But no, in this game you can literally just drive straight past. Okay, there's no blocking mechanism in Heat Pedal to Metal. That's why I would say this is the game to get if you just want a car racing game where you can play with friends. You get that kind of push your luck mechanic, tense racing. It was relatively close. It was kind of like 2v2, I would say 3 cars out of the 5. We were up towards the end of the race really close together. And in fact, the order of the places changed on that last move, which is fantastic. I love that about games when it's not been set in stone before the end of the race. The solo is very good. It's balanced. It feels competitive. When I played through a championship round, I didn't win every race, which is really good. It's nice to not win every race. And my word, is it a simple AI mechanism. It's basically this deck of cards. And you're effectively, and there is a solo dashboard as well, which tells you how to do it, but very basic, very easy to understand AI solo rules, okay? Obviously, you can put AI cards in with other players, so you can have 2 actual players and 4 AI cards. Plays 1 to 6 in the core box. There is space for another 2 cars and features. So I think this got kickstarted, so perhaps you got those with the extras, or if there is an expansion, I'm not sure. But a really nice, quick, easy to learn, but very, very robust as well system of play, okay, when you play this solo. Again, as you know from my channel, I'm quite big into solo modes of board games, and especially fan-made ones as well. That's another reason. So definitely simpler mechanics and track movement. Coming on to Rallyman GT, you'll notice instead of a board with the track, it's modular. So you've got these hexagons. These hexagons are double-sided for 2-lane tracks and 3-lane tracks. You do get some in the core box, and then the difference between these 2 games, the main difference you could argue, is they both push your luck, but Rallyman GT uses dice, so you're throwing dice to try and push your luck, as it were. And in Heat Pedal to the Metal, you've got cards. Now, I must mention as well, you've got some kind of modules, it's the best way to think of it, with Heat as well, where you've got whole decks of upgrade cards, which are specific, unique cards that you can put into your deck. So if you play with people who know how to play the game, you can introduce upgrade cards. You've also got sponsorship cards, which are one-off use cards, really powerful. So you have got that little bit of variability and difference in complexity. Rallyman GT, that is just a bit more complex, but again, that's got some additional rules as well. Ones I would suggest to use. So you don't have to deal with weather in this if you don't want to, but it has got a weather mechanic. The dashboards for the cars, again, not too hard to understand, but effectively what you've got is you've got 2 different tyres. This is something different to Heat, okay? This is where the more sim aspect comes in. So you've got dry and you've got wet tyres. In both of them, you've got sunny weather or dry weather, and you've got wet weather. Obviously, in dry weather, the dry tyres are best, and they show that by how many dice you can use. Not only that, is each tile, depending on if it's a high speed, if it's a tricky corner, or whatever it might be, I've got one of 3 different coloured symbols on them. This matters because if you push your luck and you fail, in other words, if you get 3 of these warning symbols on your roll, you will suffer the effects depending on how fast you're going, what gear you're in, and you can go up to 6th gear, there's 6 dice available, and how much damage you take. So they've got a blind token bag, so it's got like a token mechanic, love this, where you've got different tokens which can do different things to your car, and that's damage on your car, that's sustained damage. What I love about Rallyman GT compared to Heat is that sim aspect. When what you basically do is you go, right, what am I going to do here? I'm in 2nd gear, right, I'm going to go up to 3rd, and you start placing your dice down. So if you were doing this properly, you would probably be in this position here at the end of your last turn. Then you might go 3, 4, then you go up the gears. So you can go up gears, you can go down gears by 1. Very similar to Heat, to be honest, but using these dice. And then you might try and coast a little bit more past the line. And what you're doing is you're setting out a racing line with your dice. I love this. I love this. It kind of and what they've done is with the tiles and the numbers. So you can see numbers on the track, very similar to numbers on the corners of Heat. Is the maximum speed you can be going, maximum gear, if you like, you can be going. You've got hazards, you've got different things. So this corner here, if you enter this this section of this track from this side, you can go at speed 5. If you go from this side, because it's a tighter turn, you can only go at speed 4. I love this. I absolutely adore this about this game. How much it feels like you're actually racing cars. So you would come on this corner, for example. You would come here. You would take this apex. You would come round and you take this apex. So it builds that into mechanics, and you have your dice out. So it would look like you're actually doing that. Maybe you've done something like this. I don't know. Might be 2, 3, because they've got to go in ascending order. So you've suddenly got your dice out like so, right? So you lay out your dice. You would be starting here, okay, let's say on this apex here, and therefore you're going from here over to here, and then round and then down. So I mean, this is a bit unusual. You wouldn't normally have pretty much a hairpin followed by another corner. But you can create your tracks however you like. Now, this brings me to the next point about these two games. As I said, very accessible, Heat. Rallyman GT does not have a solo mode, racing-wise, with other cars in the box. There's no official solo racing. The only solo mode it's got in it is time trial, which is really cool. It's good fun. The time trial, racing against the clock is great fun, but you want to be racing. So that's where I went on to, I looked at some YouTube videos and Board Game Geek, and there was a solo mode made by a fan-made solo mode, Dr. Worm's AI Dashboards it's called, and that was done by Kevin Clark, I want to get this right, and I started using this solo. Very simple, and what they've done is really, really good. The cars feel, you're rolling dice for the AI cars, but you're just moving them as far as the dice will let you, as it were, okay? They may stop at certain things. They can wipe out. And in this game, if let's say I put this out, you get 2 choices. You can either go flat out, which means you're going to roll all those dice together, and then if you get effectively 3 of those warning symbols, you wipe out, okay? At the dice with the 3rd symbol. So, for example, you'd pick all these up. I was going to go 6th gear here, and I would put the token. Normally I don't seem to have it, so let's say that was the 6th gear, and you say that's where I'm aiming for. I'm going for this one here. You roll all your dice and you see what you get. You see here I only got 2 warning symbols, and then you place your dice out again, so you can actually change your mind how you place your dice after you've rolled. This is really cool, okay? But as long as you meet the criteria, like you can only be going speed 1 at this point here. If you do this, because you've pushed your luck, you get what's called focus. Now you can use focus on the second way to move your car. So I'll put these dice back again in the way that they were. So let's say I want to do the exact same thing again. In fact, I can do this because I can come out of speed 4 here. So exact same dice as before, but now I'm not going to go for it. I'm going to roll 1 at a time. It means I'm not going to get any focus from my roll, but I can spend focus to mitigate dice, and you roll them one at a time. So then you can start to see, right, how many of these warning symbols am I getting? It means that you're safe. I've got 1. I've got 2. Right, now I'm in danger, because if this reaches 3 at gear 6, that's bad. So what I can do is I can spend a focus token to lock that dice in. I can spend another focus token, so 2 focus tokens, to do the second dice that I do that with. 3 tokens, if I've got it, to do the third one. Therefore, I've mitigated that dice roll. I still follow the exact, so then I take these off. It was a success. I've got my 6th gear here. I spend my focus. Whoops. And I'll come to the tiles in a second. And then I drive my car to the position where we got to. And then that's my turn. The other thing I like about it, and the difference between the two, Heat uses a very simple mechanism about who goes when. Whoever's at the front has their turn. It's a simultaneous play in terms of choosing gear and choosing the cards, and so you can't fix it and gamify it. Really nice. I love that about this. You do a simultaneous turn to choose gear and choose cards first. This speeds up gameplay as well. With Rallyman GT, it's whoever's in the fastest gear goes first. So if blue, even though purple might have track position over blue, if blue is in 5th gear and purple is in 1st gear, blue will go first. And there is blocking mechanics. So let's say, for argument's sake, this car is here. If blue can make it to here, they're blocking out purple. So they're blocking out the Viper, just like in real racing car driving. That is a completely legitimate strategy to block out and block the racing line. That's what I love about Rallyman GT. It's about those racing lines and how it all tails in. As I mentioned, Heat is, I would say, definitely a more accessible game. Setup time, play time, ease of rules, fantastic. Rallyman GT, I prefer, personally. But I think solo, I think I'm basically going to be playing Rallyman GT purely solo. I've actually ordered the expansions for this because I want more track. There are literally all the racetracks you can imagine that you can find on Board Game Geek for how you put all the tiles out. The tiles do move. You've seen it already with this demonstration. That is a bit of a problem. And obviously, as you're doing with tiles, the setup time is a lot longer. I love the little cars. They don't come painted, by the way. I've painted these myself. I had to paint these. But they're not called specific cars, but they're based on cars. So it's pretty easy to see what a lot of them are. Dodge Viper, for example. This is GT6. You can get different classifications, so you can get like GT4 and everything. You can't get F1 in it, not to my knowledge. But they've also brought out Rallyman Dirt, which they kickstarted, which is the most recent one. And that's got really good reviews. And you can mix them all up together. So I think Rallyman Dirt is definitely on my wish list for sure. Now, the other one that I don't have here, that I haven't bought, is Championship Formula Racing. Now, this sounds more like a sim version, a simulation racing game based purely on F1. Which brings me back to that Formula GP Kickstarter. Formula GP, what they've proposed that their game is kind of 3 games in one. You've got a simple sprint, which sounds a little bit like Heat. You've got a standard game, which now goes into Rallyman GT, and then you've got advanced game, which ties in even more realism and simulation into their game. It is similar to Rallyman GT in the sense it's modular track, so you can create basically jigsaw puzzles. But they got DRS, they got ERS, they've got really importantly for me, Formula One and Formula One racing is all about tyre wear. That's what you design your car to do, to maintain good or very low tyre wear. If you can do that, you can have a longer stint on your tyres. This game, Formula GP, it deals with that in spades. Its tyre wear is a main focus of the game. You've got DRS, you've got overtaking, obviously. You've got battles, you've got wheel-to-wheel battles. It sounds absolutely amazing. It sounds like Rallyman GT plus, awesome. And I'll come back to that a little bit more at the end. I just want to talk about Rallyman GT. So as I mentioned before, you're using this fan-made solo AI. Now I've been playing a championship with this solo, and you can use the official solo time trial to find position, so qualifying. Then you can find the track layout of any course you want. I've been doing some local ones for me, and just creating them with the module tiles. It's worked brilliantly. Then used the AI to kind of deal with that. Now, the only thing I would say is the AI is on the easier side. So I started off by having a mix of, you got green, amber and red in terms of difficulty, easy, medium and hard. I started with a mix, and the green was, it was so easy to beat them. So easy, it was too easy to beat them. Yellow gave a little bit of challenge, but I was finding that I was beating them too. Red is the only one that's given me a kind of challenge. But I wanted to mix it up a bit. So inside this bag of damage tokens is the weather. This is where your weather changes effectively. Okay, so there are tokens. There are some tokens, there we are. They've got this symbol. If you wipe out, and this is when you draw these, and you have to draw these tokens, and you draw this, the weather has changed on the course, and it's gone from dry, let's say, to wet. Now, the AI, the fan-made AI, has also got dry and wet mechanics on their AI cards. Brilliant. So what I do is, after the first person has gone past the finish line for the first lap, I randomly draw 3 of these tokens from the bag. If one of these weather tokens is being revealed, then I change the weather. I flip, no, I don't flip, you don't flip them. This brings in the pits mechanic. It does have pitting in this game as well. This is why we've got the box tile here. You can see here, if you want to change tyres, it takes 0. So when you wipe out effectively, depending on how fast you're going, you either do a big wipe out or just a spin. If you just do a spin, you go to 0 gear, so you go to neutral, and then on your next turn, you can start moving again. If you wipe out at quite high speed, you're likely to take a double 0, which means that you have to wait, you get delayed an additional turn. This is really bad. If you want to fix your car and get rid of these damage tokens, you can do that and change your tyres to do it. The other rule I made was that I had a pit lane entrance tile and a pit exit tile that's next to the finish line. You have to come in here and then choose which one you want to do, and then you have to follow along the track at speed 2 until you reach this tile, and then you can come out and start racing again to try and simulate more realistically a pit stop. The official rules are you can stop anywhere on the track and then do that pit stop. That didn't seem very realistic to me, so that took away the immersion for me. So I did put a few more little tweaks on there, but if you play with the weather mechanics, the pit stops, and the AI and qualifying, it gives such a great immersive experience into GT racing on race circuits. But as I said, I do really like Heat as well. I think this is the one I will take to game nights and play with people, and this is going to come out a lot. I definitely think that. They're both very similar in terms of price and availability, it seems, certainly in the UK. So that's my comparison of the two. Obviously, that is my personal preference. I am big into solo board gaming, hence why this tips this. However, if you are part of a board game group and you prefer playing with other people and that's the main way you play games, I would probably recommend Heat. Although, like I said, I have not played this multiplayer yet, but I feel this is too daunting to bring out on a game night a little bit. Maybe I will do in the future, especially if I give the heads up about how we're doing that. Formula GP, I feel more tends towards this side compared to this side. Okay, Formula GP on Gamefound, sorry, does feel more like a simulation. It's got that modular track setup. You can fit in all these modular rules to make it as difficult as possible. It does not have license. That's something to note. For something like Championship Formula Racing does. It has past legends of the racing sport. This Formula GP does not. Okay, so it just has red, different blue, yellow cars like Heat. Okay, so that's similar to Heat. that's not to say you can't just say what cars they are. The little miniatures, which are only available in the deluxe pledge, are really nicely detailed miniature cars, about the same scale as these ones in Heat. You will have to paint them, they don't come painted. That's the other thing with Heat, perhaps. You've got pretty decent plastic miniatures with Heat that are already got the numbers on and everything else. These become unpainted in Rallyman GT. So if painting something you might quite like, then that might be another thing that sways it, I don't know. Formula GP, they come unpainted again. However, the base game comes with acrylic standees. That's really, really accessible. That's the latest thing that people are starting to shout for. Instead of miniatures and plastic miniatures, people are wanting acrylic standees. You don't have to paint them. They're really crisp compared to cardboard standees. And Formula GP has those acrylic standees as standard. Personally, myself, I love minis. You know I love minis. Painting is why it's called Painting Game Corner. That's why the channel is called that. So that is a big part of it for me, and I really want that those miniatures to paint up in the colours of the Formula 1 teams. The problem is, Formula GP has not reached its funding goal yet. And we've got, at the time of recording this right now, got 2 weeks left, so still a bit of time left. And we've still got about 23% to be funded. So it's still over 10,000 euros that they need to get to even fund the project, let alone get some amazing stretch goals. So I do hope that they, excuse me, add on some more add-ons, make it more enticing, and maybe market it a little bit better. I don't know. I think it's there's not many videos out there. Tabletop Wolf did some fantastic comments on it and review on it as best as could. But even his solo playthrough didn't really explain how to play the rules. Now they have said they will be putting up some videos of actual gameplay footage, full gameplay footage of a race. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to see, exactly how it all plays. Now, it does say that it takes 60 minutes to play a race. I assume that's once you set everything up, of course, because setup time in Formula GP sounds like it could take a little while. But it's got a good pedigree from these games, definitely. But I'm loving Rallyman GT at the moment. I adore this game. I actually adore this game. I want to keep playing it. I want to keep going with my homemade championship around the UK. It is all thanks to Kevin Clark and this Dr. Worm and their AI rule set and dashboards. Without that, this won't be anywhere near the experience I'm having at the moment. Also, there is quite a lot of this content for this game out already. As I said, Rallyman Dirt's out there. It brings some rally racing, okay? You can mix them together. You can mix the tracks together to make some really cool tracks. And there's loads of content. And the community for this is huge. There's so much you can get from this, okay? That's what draws me to this game. I really am enjoying my time with this. I love Heat. As a multiplayer car racing game, it's a winner. It is 100% a winner. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. So again, definitely two keepers in my collection, my ever-growing collection, which I need to cull at some point. But I wanted to mention these as we're going through. I know I haven't been producing many videos very recently. Too busy and with not being very well. But hopefully, with the new gaming shed and a new location to do the videos, we're going to see, hopefully get some more content out there. I'm currently doing a video and just editing it. I'm going to put in a video about painting Moonstone, which is my latest purchase of tabletop miniatures. Talking of which, I've got several new game systems, which I want to talk about in the channel as well. I want to get some more painting videos out there. So lots and lots more content to go up, which will be coming soon. So that's my little comparison of Heat and Rallyman GT. Excuse me. Just to reiterate, bottom line, to summarise, Heat for those that like multiplayer game night sessions. As I say, about an hour and a half playtime. Rallyman GT if you want more of a simulation. A really solid fan-driven AI system. I'll have to stress that. AI system in the game. AI system you have to look online and get it from Board Game Geek. That might sway you as well. Both about 40 English pounds. So really quite good value. Speaking of which, Formula GP, which is hopefully going to be another one I can add to the collection, that's also I think it's around about 45 to 50 pounds for the base pledge, and about 60 to 65 pounds for the deluxe with the miniatures. But of course you're going to have to pay shipping and taxes on top of that. It is a crowdfunder, and it's by a smaller board game producer, of course, Dux Games. Anyway, let me know in the comments if you play either of these. I know this is extremely popular, but this seems to have a really solid foundation of community. Do you play these? Which one do you prefer? Are there any other racing games which you think are better? I know there are lots of different, especially if we go away from cars, different racing games, betting games, those kind of things, which I've not even played. So there's still a plethora of games which I've still not even touched. That's my little bit of comparison between Rallyman GT and Heat Pedal to the Metal, with a little bit of mention to Formula GP on Gamefound at the moment. So until next time, keep gaming and have fun.